Okay, I'm going to help you all get set up running a headless client. First thing is I'm going to do is I'm going to log into my server, which is a local server here I have at the house. Alright, so I'm going to have this zip file here that I'll share with you guys. It will extract to these recommended files right here. First thing you should probably do is set up your Steam CMD. Now this is how I do it. There are other ways of doing it. It all depends on how you want to do it. Let me just show you a brief overview of how I have my server set up. Okay, so however you set it up is up to you. If you have extra hard drives or whatever. At any rate, I'll show you how the primary server is set up currently. Excuse me. This is downloaded using Steam CMD dedicated server package. So what you're going to have right here, I shared a folder. It just has a Steam CMD exe. Don't worry about extra files that need to be in it. You can copy that, and let me show you over here where I've actually got my Steam CD saved inside server files, and you can see right here is a folder. It will first run download any necessary files that you need for Steam CMD to run properly. So the only important thing is going to be where you put it. I'll show you that you need to set up the correct paths. So anyways, you can copy this file right here, place it wherever you choose. It's up to you. I choose mine inside my server file, Steam CMD. So once you've created that folder, you will be good to go to the next step, which I have a folder here that I've shared also. It's called Steam Updater. It can be named however you choose to name it. Yeah, excuse me, I have a little bit of cold. And that is located. I have a primary folder here that I save my stuff for primary server. You can see I've got a folder here called Steam Updater. I've also got a folder called Profiles. That's where it'll save your logs and such. And then you will need a folder called Config. Okay. Again, over here, I've added these files to you. For you, you will have to edit and adjust them as you need or see fit to. But let's look at the Steam Updater. Alright, now this is the CMD, that's command line prompt. So you don't want to open this. What you want to do is you want to edit it. I will use Notepad++, and it will look something like this right here. Most of the stuff you don't need to worry about. The A3 branch is going to be, it's already set up for you. The only thing you will need to change is your path, where you want to install the server itself. Okay. You can use the same paths I've put. You can put anything you want. Do not worry about the Steam password. You'll enter that once you run this updater. Now you will need to put in your Steam name, something like this right here. Like it would be PapaReap. Okay, so whatever your name happens to be that you're going to use, because you have to log into Steam. I know you can do it anonymously, but I prefer to do it this way. That way it subscribes to the particular mods and such that I have. So I'll undo that. The rest of this stuff, just going to echo off some text on the screen so you can see something's going on. And this will be the other important section right here. This is where you're going to place that Steam CMD folder that has the Steam CMD exe in it. Make sure you get that path right. And that's basically it. once you've set this stuff up, then we'll be ready to run the install. So then at that point, you're going to come here and you're going to just run this or open it. Okay, so when you go do that, it's going to open up a CMD window. It's going to ask you to put in your password. Okay, so I'll just say I've changed my password to this. And you're going to enter. At that point, it will update any Steam CMD files first. And as you can see, I'm already update, but you would probably see it's actually invalid password because I changed the CMD. Standby. Let me run the right one. Alright, so it would be this one. Because this one here, I don't have the username in there. So I'll run this. Okay, now it will update any files that need updated on Steam CMD. And then it will check, and probably if you've never set up, it will download the Arma 3 server files that you need. Mine are already downloaded, so it's just basically verifying the install. Done. Pressing the key to continue. Okay, so now at that point, this is where I told it to go right here. See, so it will download all these files that you need. Now I've got 3 files here that are identical to the server x64. All I do is I just copy this x64, I paste it 3 times, and then I'm renaming that exe to something that I can keep track of. Don't think it's 100% necessary, but I choose to do it that way because I'll show you later on actually why I do that. Okay, so we have downloaded our server. This is the Arma 3 dedicated server that's been downloaded. I have some extra files in here. Don't worry about those at this point. Those would be used for a different purpose later, but not in this video. Alright, the next thing you're going to want to do is set up this structure like I have here. I've got my primary and I have a config. And I know it's probably may seem a little confusing the way I do things, but that's just how I do it. Old school. The config is going to be the file that you need to set up your server with. I'll show you here. I've got one saved up for you over here inside the config. Alright, so what you're going to have is some files, just some ports and things like that. If you're using standard 2302 type port, then I would say leave all this stuff the way it is. For the headless client, you're going to want to set it up like this, because it will be a local client running on the server. You will need to put in a host name, whatever you want to call your server. That way when people look for it, it'll show up. And if you want to enter a password to join, you would put your password here. Otherwise, just leave empty quotes, and then it would be open to public. And just various other things. BattlEye, if you want to verify signatures, file patching. I happen to use persistent saving, so I do need file patching. However, I have exceptions to, as you can see here, people that can join with file patching enabled. That way, because it's something you probably don't want to leave open to the public. And you would just put in their unique Steam user ID number. I've started all these out because I don't want to share them. And if you happen to have administrators that you want to allow a password to be able to log in as administrator, then you would enter your password here. That's when I haven't had much luck getting to work, so I just basically copied this setup from Arma and tweaked it, however I seen fit for myself. If you want to see messages, it's most of the stuff self-explanatory. If you want to allow players to vote, how many players are required, so on and so forth. You can read down through the notes. They all have comments on them that kind of help you understand how it's used. I use force difficulty. I'll show you how that is set up. So basically, if you have any questions, you're going to obviously want to ask, but I don't want to go into full detail. I will just show you briefly how the custom difficulties are set up. If you want to force that, then you can change things like friendly tags, enemy tags, all of the different things you might want to turn on or off, third person view, so on and so forth. You can set up basically your missions that have been played are going to store here in your active keys. You can clear that out. It's not really that big of a deal, but this section right here is the one that you would probably want to tweak to your desire. The basic CFG, I have not played with it a lot, to be honest. Basically a copy and paste from somebody I'd seen. You can try to tweak, maybe give yourself more bandwidth or something like that. Server seems to run pretty good, so I haven't messed with it too much, to be honest. And let's see, we don't need that file. Alright, so you've got these two files set up somewhere that you'll be able to path to. Don't worry about setting the profile up, because that will set up itself upon first use. So we have the updater, the profile, and the config. Alright, inside of here, I use Arma 3 Sync to run my server. Just used it for a long time, really comfortable with it. Pretty simple for me to use. I will bring that up and show you how the server is actually set up. So at this point, like I say, we've got our basic and our configs built and placed into an area that we're going to want to use. So let's start Arma Sync. All right. Again, you're going to run this installer. I think this installer is actually one update away from being current. Yeah, I'm on update 6. So after it's installed, you can run this updater here, check for updates. No new update available, so it will download the update itself and reinstall the current version. So what you have now is you have profiles. Okay, you can set these up. You're going to start off and you're probably going to be like on default. It's going to look something most likely like this. There's basically not going to be nothing in here. Your add-on options is where you're gonna point. Let me just get back over to. Let's go on this primary server here. All right. So these on the right will be empty for you. The first thing you'll want to do is go to add-on options right here, and you want to set up a path to your add-ons. So you would hit the plus symbol over here, and then just navigate to where your add-ons are saved. Like I happen to keep some in here, but I've also got you want to probably set up a path to where you actually have your game installed, not the server, but your game, and in which case it would be like your Steam apps, common, Arma 3, and you will probably want to add your workshop folder. Okay, so once you open that, you'll see there'll be a workshop folder there. So when you come back to your add-ons and refresh, you'll see inside you've now got a workshop folder that has all your subscribed mods. Hoping this is making some sense to you. Now the server itself does not necessarily have to run every mod that the individual runs. Some mods, you know, CBA, stuff like that, you're basically just going to grab a mod and you're going to drag it over. Actually, you would probably want to first like add a group. Okay, you can add a group and say new mods or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so now you got like new mods. I actually don't want that there. Let's pull that up. Let me get this out of here. I guess I don't know what I'm doing. I've got it in there twice. Alright, so you can basically grab your mods, drag and drop them. If you want to organize, you know, you can do it however you choose to do it. You can add them. I prefer to organize so that I can keep like my maps separate. It just makes it easier for me to find things, turn them on and off, you know, however I want. But I'm going to remove this one because I don't need it. And see, like I'm currently running DCL mods, and you'll see that the server does not have them here in this add-ons group because I do not want it to be required by the individual client to run it. It would be optional on their end. If I add them here, then whatever the server's running, the individual is going to be required to run. So I've actually set that up inside of my launcher options because I'm running server mods. So like this particular mod right here, advanced sling loading, is not required to be ran by the client for it to work, as in the towing. And you can see here I have a testing folder that I've, you know, when I'm testing Soldier FSM on a build that I made, then I'll put it in the testing folder. If not, this here particular file here is ran from the Steam mods. Now I've got this commented out. If you want to uncomment it, you can take that away, and now it will run this mod. But I don't want to run both at the same time, so I'll comment this one out. Now you'll see these are not workshop files because the one drawback to Arma 3 Sync is it does not like spaces in the file names. And many of these add-ons, as you can see, DCL Soldier, Unit Scanner, Vehicle FSM, all have spaces. So is what I've done is over here now I got my add-ons folder. I've just set up a server side mods folder. Okay, and these are actually just symbolic links to the actual Steam Workshop folder. Like if I open this up, actually let's do it this way. Okay, you see how it's taking me right here to my workshop. So now the way that I've done this is I will just take the folder, I'll right click it, and I get a pick a link source. Okay, and you may be wondering what that is, but inside of this here recommended files folder is a link shell extension. Okay, this will allow you to create symbolic links, hard links, all kinds of things. Very, very handy add-on, and you can open these shortcuts to take you to if you want to read more on it. But basically, after installing that, I can go here and I can pick a link source. Okay, now I will go back to my add-ons folder like so, and now I will, inside my server-side mods, I will right-click and I will drop it as a symbolic link. As you can see, there's a lot of different ways you could use this, but symbolic link is a good way to go. So now you can see that it's created a symbolic link with the spelling exactly the way it is in the workshop folder. So that's what you want to do, is rename this and give it an underscore or take the space out or whatever, just so it's reading like that. As you can see now, I have it here. I didn't put the underscore because I've already have it there. That way, whenever I put this path in on Arm & Sync, I can put that spelling just as it is inside my server-side mod here. Now, if you're worried that it's a lot of typing, you can just click up in this bar here. You can copy your path. Okay, so you can copy that, and you can come down in here and just paste. Okay, and then you got to do some tweaking, like you would copy your server-side mod like so, put it in front, and then you want to give it the name. Would I rename unit scanner? Like so. And it looks like I'm actually missing an R right here on this one. So this is how you set up server mods. So is what they are, they're ran on the server, by the server, and only by the server. So this way you're not required to have every client run every mod that is required by the server if it's not needed by the client to run, as is DCO. DCO is basically standalone. The server will run it. Now I'm going to show you that I also run this on the headless client. But for now, let's get back to, now that we're in optional parameters, you can see here I'm setting up, I have to set up a profile. Okay, now if you look over here, you'll see I got my server files, my primary. As you can see, this is the path right here. Did not want to do that. My mouse. So I want to set up my profiles. I'll actually show you then, since I just did that. And I can come here to profile, and now I can just copy this path and place it right in here. Okay, so my profile is going to be here. Funhouse PC, and that's my user's going to be that, as you can see right here. I'm going to pause for 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so we were setting up our profile. Our next will be the CFG. You'll have the path, server files, primary, config. And this is where we have that primary basic CFG, which is over here inside my config. Again, most important thing is to be certain you got your paths in the right order. And then we're going to have our config. Again, same path, just different file name. Those file names, you can name them however you want them, as long as they match. And then your port, basic default Armor 3 port is 2302. It's basically the port that the server is setting up on. If you have multiple servers running, you would maybe switch this to 2402, something like so. And then the name of your PC, which is, mine happens to be called Funhouse. When that sets up over here, you'll see that it sets up a Funhouse PC user, basically. So that's where the profiles and stuff will be saved. And it's also going to save your Inside your profile folder will be your logs, primary master log, things like that. But this will be the RPT. That's usually your most critical file. And then again, just back to the server mods. If you happen to have additional mods that you run by the server, put them there. Now you're going to want to set the executable location of your server file. As you can see right now down here, I've got my Arma 3 server. Okay, it's basically a copy of my Arma 3 server x64, but it's named like this so that I can isolate it, even though it's the same file. So you're going to pick which server file you want to use, and then your setup. Now you're going to want to do basically the same thing for the headless client, just a little different. And I'll show you here. Again, these are already pre-built profiles that I have. I will switch now to my primary headless client. Okay, let's go back to add-ons. As you can see, I've got basically the same folder structures. I have testing, if I want to test mods outside of Steam, I can place them in there, which is done here. I've got my workshop. Basically, that's all I'm using for the headless is workshop files. If I wanted to use, say, a testing version of PR Survival Tools, I would drag it from here. And as you can see, I've set up my folders on the right. Testing, even though it's got the same there as it does here, except for you can see this one's underscored because it's just a local copy. I have both these checked. I do not want that, so I'll take one of those off. Same here, take that off, and I want to use Soldier FSM from the workshop, okay, which was brought in from up here. It's hard for me to explain how to use this. I can basically do it in my sleep. I've done it so many times, but for me to explain it to somebody is a little more difficult because I'm not really suited for this type of stuff, but I'm making a go of it. Again, the add-on options is basically, and if you want to change the start order of your priority, I've never really seemed to find any difference. You can actually rearrange how these add-ons start up. Alright, so all these run parameters are going to be set up automatically up over here by whatever add-on you've chosen and your priorities. And if you tick any of these boxes over here, you can see it just puts them in there automatically for you. Again, file patching I have on because I have a use for it. Most people probably don't. If you want to use Malix, different settings, do not suggest turning off logs, as logs are quite common to be used for troubleshooting. And here you can see we've got password because he is now a client, so he'll have to join the server password that's set for this particular server. My profile here, you can see it's going to be a little different than what the server is. So now you've got over here, I've got my server files. Okay, you can see dedicated server files, and I want to create a separate profile for HC so that I can view his logs separately. As you can see, he's got his own set of logs. Okay, so that's why you're gonna isolate these profiles. If you want him to join with BattleEye, you need to give it a BattleEye path, which is generally where your install is. Right here's my primary install, and you should have a BattleEye folder right here. That's what you would set that. Name equals HC. That's pretty critical. I'll show you later when you set up your mission, how you want to name your headless client so that it has an actual name. And you can see right here, it is going to be critical for that and other things. You want to connect via local host. Okay, that was what we set up here on this right here. So that's going to give him his local host address. The port that you have the server running, and you want to give it a client. I've turned on no sound, and I've entered the password to join the server automatically. So when this starts, it will just join up. Down here, you'll see that I've got a different exe, even though it's the same one. Again, you're going to pick that, and you're going to grab the primary HC exe. Okay, again, that's just done so I can track. You open that, and it's ready, basically ready to go. So, anything else? Oh, another probably important thing. Again, if you're running, let's get back here to the server. Actually, I'm sorry. It's going to be here. Verifying signatures. If you are running, if you don't care about people running mismatched mods, I don't think it's a good idea. But sometimes you may have a problem signing a key or something, or maybe there's a mod without a key. So sometimes you're forced into just turning the keys off, signatures. You would set this to 0, and then basically anybody could join with any mod that they happen to choose to join with. So if you leave this to set to 1, that means that the server is going to run a check of mods against the keys. So the server itself, this is my primary server install, has a folder called keys. This is where you place the add-on keys that are generally sent out with the mods that you subscribe to. Okay, so you can see there's a ton of different keys because I've run a lot of different mods. Like here's your DCO, here's your tally key. Okay, now those keys, if you don't know, are going to be located. Let's just go to Steam Workshop, and we'll find let's go with DCO Soldier FSM. Usually you can just open this folder, and they'll have a keys folder in there, and you're going to grab that key, copy it, and place it inside your server keys folder. It's really that simple. That would go right into there, and then you start the server. And that's what that means, is that particular add-on that was signed with Tally's key has to match 100% exact. If it was built at a different date or something against that particular key that is with that folder, as you can see here, you got add-ons. They have these B signs right here. This signature is unique to this particular build. So even though it may read the same, have the same name, if it's not the exact same date and time, it will not work. It'll kick you from the server. Okay. So let's close this. I'm hoping I don't have too much open for you guys here. So let's just real quickly go through how to fire up this server. Now this ArmorSync does a lot of different things, like repositories. You got external apps. This is just a file check that I have for persistent saves. It's a batch file that I run each time the server starts. Doesn't really even concern you, to be honest. Not yet anyways. So let's just say that we've got everything chosen the way that we want to start our server. Okay, I've got just common mods and maps and stuff like that that the server runs that I want the clients also to run. I've got my individual server mods here. Okay. Now, if I go over here, I don't want that one, sorry. I want to go to server files. Let's go to primary profile. I'm just going to delete out this stuff here just to show you. Now, when I fire up the server, I'm going to just hit start game. This is just the persistent checks that I got going. As you can see right now, he started writing an RPG file, which is just a log file. I can open this. I've also shared this bear tail. It's just kind of a handy little thing that you can pop up that just kind of updates in real time as the logs are being written, so that you can kind of throw it up and keep an eye on logs that way. Don't have to use this, but basically it's going to show you all your stuff. You can add different colors. Kind of handy. Or you could just right click and say open with Notepad++, and you can view it this way also. So, and those are often quite handy for the developer if you've got issues with errors and things like that popping up. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead. I've got my dedicated server right here. You can see it is just going to open up a console window. It'll show you the port, which version of ARM is running. I'm going to go ahead and just connect my client. Okay, so I'll go back to my profile and I'll just go to my primary HC and just start the game. I've got everything ready to go, so I will start him. And it takes a minute, for it to get up and going, but you'll see that he will join up and connect to the server because he's told to connect right here through a local host into this port. Okay. Now, the reason that I name those files is also because I run this separate app here, Process Lasso. You can see that this way here I can actually see the different server versus the headless client. If they were just named the Armored 3 X64, I wouldn't be able to set different things like affinity. I've got the primary headless client I run on cores 8 through 15, and the primary server is running on cores 0 through 7. As you can see, that's the upper bank of cores here. It's just mainly so that I can view progress and performance, things like that. That is the reason that I name these different files. Okay, so now you can see that the dedicated client is created here. This is my headless client. He is connected to the port. He gets those files that would read off, if you join a server. And the server reflects also that he has connected. So this is basically it as far as setting up your server. You can see now that the client, if I look down into my server files, I can go to my HC profile, and he also has written a current RPT. Same thing, I can open this up and read it however I choose. Basically just Loads up the starting stuff. There's no mission running currently, so that's why the logs are pretty small. As the mission starts up and starts running, then these logs will change. Um, let's clear some of this stuff out of the way. I don't need those old logs either. Okay, so that's basically it, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Um, I'm sure I'm probably missing something really simple, but again, like I say, I do this so many times. We have several different servers we run all around. I basically set them all up the same, so because it's easy for me. That's how I've been doing it, and I'll probably continue to do it. There's probably some different ways of starting this up, maybe through Steam Launcher. I'm not 100% sure. I personally don't like using the Steam Launcher. It's just my personal opinion. Everybody else in our group does. Um, I even start my own local client with ArmorSync. Um, I know that there's several other different mod launchers out there that basically do the same thing, but this is what you get from me. Um, anyways, I guess that is about it. Okay, just going to show you real quick how to set up a headless client for your particular mission. Um, basically, if you go into your mission in the editor, whenever it starts, I do all my editing through the multiplayer editor versus the single player editor. But basically, what you're going to do is you're just going to, however you just decide to set up your mission. These are my Zeus's, and these are my headless clients right here. All right. You're going to come over here to your systems, basically F5, and you will click on systems, and then come over on your logic entities, click on that, and you will have a virtual entity, and you have a logic already set up as headless client. So you just basically pick on it, bring it into the map, like so. I've already got 2 of these set up. Now, just a note, DCL Soldier FSM currently is only utilizing 1 headless client, so even though I've got a couple here, I only start the one when I'm using it. So you can basically open this up, and here's where you're going to give it a variable name, and you're going to want to call it HC. Right? Just that simple. And then there's a tick here. Make sure that it is playable, and you'll see under role description, you can just give it an easy name that you can track. That's basically all that is for. And that's it. That's all you got to do. Very important though. Be sure that it is playable. Okay. And you're going to okay that. Now, because I am not running a dedicated server, you'll see if I go to hit the play scenario here, it'll give me all my slots, that I can pick. These are all my playable units. And you can see under virtual entity here. Now this is only going to be visible even on the server. This is virtual by the server admin. So whoever's logged in as admin on a dedicated server is going to be the only one that's going to be able to see if there's headless clients. Now as you can see, these 2 slots are empty because I am not a dedicated server, and that is the only use that you can get out of Headless Client is on a dedicated environment. So this again is for multiplayer dedicated server in order to utilize Headless Clients. Okay, had a little break there. Electricity went out, storming. Anyways, I will see if I can't connect to the server. show you what the dedicated Headless Client will be like. Let's see what we got here. Alright, now you can see under the players tab up here, you got an HC. If I was not logged in admin, I would not see this. He is sitting over here in the virtual slot. You can see one HC is slotted automatic. Alright, so he's connected, ready to go. Let me just push in. I think this might be a persistent save. Something we've had going for a few weeks now. Alright, so HC is connected still. Alright, so let's just kick in here. Okay, so let's see what we got here. See what we got for HC units. Alright, so at the moment there's 149 units on the map. And supposedly they're all being controlled by the HC. So let me see if I can bring up the server. So the upper bank again is the server. Lower bank is HC. I will see if I can't get some stuff to spawn in. I'm gonna go ahead and make myself invulnerable and invisible. And I will teleport let me just come down into here somewhere. I do know that this town will be occupied. So now, let's see what we got here. Still running pretty smooth. Got some guys that are in behind us here doing some stuff. Some vehicles. This town is pretty well occupied, it appears. Again, all these units right now are being controlled by the Headless Client. We're up to 192 units actually. Still runs pretty smooth. The lower sections, the HC, uppers the server, dealing with all the server stuff and not having to deal with these pesky AI. I can check the server FPS. See, we kind of load servers sitting at a steady 48, 47 FPS. Now if I want to go ahead and jump a little further in, let's make myself visible. I'm not seeing anybody yet. I've been spotted. I probably would already be dead. So we're going to retreat. Again, the server's running pretty decent. Now it looks like I got some guys coming in to investigate me. Maybe, maybe not. Any rate, it's basically is what it is now. So don't know what else to show us here. Other than I will retreat. There's no way in hell I'm gonna survive. Now we got a vehicle coming in. So, anyways, that's kind of where we're at. Like I say, hopefully this will help somebody. You guys got questions, hit me up. Alright? Thanks a lot.